So this is a SCOBY, and it is the secret behind kombucha. As you can see, it looks like a weird jellyfish that floats around in your kombucha jar. But guess what? No two SCOBYs are the same. They can each vary in their texture, color, and smell. And whenever my clients start to make their own kombucha, the first thing they usually ask is, what does a healthy SCOBY actually look like? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer this plus your other most popular questions about Kombucha SCOBYs. Let's go. Okay, let's get the easiest question out of the way first. How is it pronounced? A lot of people actually come to me and say, isn't it called SCOBY as in Scooby-Dooby-Doo? But I'm here to settle the debate with my little friend, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It's actually pronounced SCOBY. So a SCOBY is a collection of good bacteria and yeast that we use to ferment sweetened tea and turn it into kombucha. Basically, it works similar to how kefir grains work for kefir, which I talked about in the video above. Now the name SCOBY is actually just an acronym and stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. You might also hear a SCOBY referred to as a kombucha culture, mother culture, or tea fungus. Although that just does not sound appetizing. And here's the cool thing. When you place your SCOBY in a sweetened tea, your bacteria and yeast buddies will get to work and feed on the sugar to create beneficial probiotics, enzymes, and lots of helpful acid, like these. A lot, right? Best of all, these can help with everything from antioxidant support to balancing the bacteria in your large intestine. In other words, your humble little SCOBY, it's a bit like Harry Potter. It has these magical powers to transform simple sweetened tea into a fizzy, healthy carbonated beverage. Meaning armed with a SCOBY, you can make your own gut-nourishing kombucha at home for next to nothing. For all the benefits of kombucha, check out the video above. So I think the easiest way to explain this to you is to show you a healthy SCOBY I have with me. I have two in the brewing containers and one right here. And you can see they're all kind of lightish in color. The two in the container have grown to the edges of the brewing container. And that's really important to know because it means that the SCOBY is protecting the liquid from the air. And you can see that they all range in thickness. Now they all were one SCOBY and I separated them into each containers. But the growth of the SCOBY, that's a good sign that it's in good health. On the top of the surfaces, they have more of a wet and shimmering surface. I know it's not particularly attractive, but that is the SCOBY letting us know it's hydrated and being fed well. Now the camera is not going to pick up on this, but there are some small bumps and bubbles on the surface of the SCOBY. This means fermentation is taking place and gas is being created. Another sign of a healthy SCOBY. Now finally, the smell test. A healthy SCOBY smells sweet, sour, and slightly vinegary. This means the bacteria are alive and fermenting away. I have to laugh when my clients send me photos of their SCOBYs and ask, has it turned bad? Am I a bad SCOBY parent? Thankfully, it's pretty easy to spot an off SCOBY. In fact, let's take a look at one now. So as you can see, is it turning black in color? Has it in fact stopped growing? Does it look a little bit dry? Most of all, are there visible signs of dry and fuzzy mold on top of the SCOBY? Now, depending on what type of mold is growing, it can be either blue, green, white, or black in color. Or if you're really lucky, a combination of all of them. And finally, there is that smell test. You see, a bad SCOBY will smell terrible. It might give you hints of feet, cheese, and even a waft of a boy's locker room. Oh, all the stuff you never want to smell from your SCOBY. And it should go without saying, if your SCOBY ever acts like this, get it out, throw it away, along with all the liquid that's in there. To prevent mold growth on your SCOBY, there are 4 main things you can do. First up, Keep your SCOBY submerged at room temperature, ideally between 68 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. That's important because if it gets too cold, fermentation can slow down and give mold an opportunity to grow. And if it's too hot, it could kill your SCOBY. Next, make sure your SCOBY is in a brewing container that has a cover on top. And that's to avoid exposure to contaminants like smoke, dust, fruit flies, even dog hair, etc. Just as importantly, the cover needs to be porous, meaning it can allow oxygen through. Something like a coffee filter or even a paper towel can work, but from my own personal experience, I use a kitchen towel because the weave is large enough to let oxygen in while being small enough that the bugs can't get in. Finally, try to avoid touching or otherwise disturbing your SCOBY. A continuous brew setup will help with this, which I have here. And if you ever have to touch your SCOBY, make sure your hands, nails, and utensils and jars are clean. Now, I personally don't do this since I've been brewing kombucha for so long, but if you want to really protect your SCOBY, then test your kombucha regularly with pH strips, kind of like you would test a swimming pool to see if it's safe. Ideally, you want to see a pH range between 2.5 and 3.5. This means your kombucha is nice and acidic. Unless you have kombucha brewing buddies nearby, the easiest way to get your hands on a healthy SCOBY is online. Websites selling SCOBYs will either ship the SCOBY in a starter liquid or in a dehydrated form. I prefer the starter liquid option because it's ready when it arrives. It has less chance of growing mold, and you can use the starter tea it comes in the first batch. The other option would be to head to your local health food store or farmer's market, as they sometimes sell SCOBYs submerged in a starter tea. And the great thing about local stores and markets is they usually have someone with kombucha brewing expertise who can answer any questions you might have. We geeked out on this question because it is pretty amazing, right? We're talking about fermenting tea and growing a baby SCOBY without having a mother SCOBY. Anyways, we put our mad scientist hats and tested out for you. So what we did was we took some kombucha from a previous batch, and you can even use unflavored store-bought kombucha. This formed the basis of our starter and provided the source of bacteria and yeast. Then we added sweetened tea to it and let it ferment away for a few weeks. During this time, a very thin and almost clear colored film of SCOBY formed on top of the liquid, which you can see in the picture here. And this was our new baby SCOBY. As it continues to grow into a mother SCOBY, it will become more opaque, thicker, and of course better at turning fresh sweetened tea into kombucha. If you want our detailed recipe for growing your own SCOBY at home, check the link in the description below. So let's have another look at our SCOBY friend here. As you can see, there are some layers forming, and over time more and more layers are going to appear, kind of like this. So when it gets to this point, the big question is, what do we do? Well, if your SCOBY gets too big, then it will start blocking oxygen from reaching your tea, and this will hurt the fermentation process. So every 3 to 6 months, just like you would go to a hairdresser for a styling, you should take your SCOBY out and trim it. You usually want to reduce it by half, depending on the size. And you can do this with sterilized scissors or a serrated knife, or simply tearing apart with clean hands, which I'll demonstrate now. Once done, you can return it to its container. As for the excess SCOBY, you can either set up a second fermentation container, or if you're feeling generous, give it away to a friend. Well, the good news is our beautiful little SCOBY can be used indefinitely. If you want to turn your SCOBY into a lifelong friend, here's what you need to do. Keep feeding it sweetened tea, as this is what it lives on. Keep giving it enough oxygen, as this is what it uses to ferment. Keep it at an even room temperature, as this ensures it grows steadily. Protect it from any contaminants like dust, dirt, smoke, or mold. And finally, if you want to flavor your kombucha with fruits or use non-caffeinated herbal teas, Do this as a second fermentation in a separate brewing container away from your SCOBY. Now, unless you're going to go full Breaking Bad and turn your kitchen into a pristine fermentation lab, your SCOBY is probably going to struggle to get this level of love, and it will likely degrade slowly over time and eventually go bad. At which time you will just say some nice parting words, thanking your SCOBY friend and letting it go to SCOBY heaven. But you can usually replace them with the little baby SCOBYs, which are the new layers of SCOBY that grow on top. When you first saw our little SCOBY at the start of this video, I bet you thought, I am not having that weird jellyfishing thing anywhere near my kitchen. But as we started diving into how this colony of good bacteria and yeast works, how it can keep transforming simple sweetened tea into fizzy and delicious kombucha, we kind of fell in love. It really is magical. So if you want to make your own kombucha and save a lot of money on that crazy priced store-bought kombucha, then get your SCOBY game on and enjoy the fizzy freedom of homemade brew. We have a question for you. Have you tried to make kombucha at home? And if so, what are your best tips? And if you enjoyed this video as part of our fermented food series, I'd love for you to join our Essential Stacks community by clicking the subscribe button below. We research the most important ways you can improve your digestive health so you can love your gut again. Bye for now.